Welcome, wives. Today's message is actually for the girl dads out there. Please do not become your daughter's husband. In my last video, I mentioned that men are impacted by the negative stuff that's out there about men. So we may think that we're the only ones who are looking at men and seeing them in a negative light, but men themselves are very distrustful of other men. And when it comes to a father and his daughter, this can be problematic, especially wives, if you are raising your daughters to be wives. I believe I was raised very privileged. We were brought up upper middle class. There was a lot of investment in me and my sister, and that was the same with our female friends. But because of that, often they had a very elevated opinion of themselves. And they always had the fallback of my dad. You can't treat me like that. I'm just going to run back to daddy, you know? And that can be very detrimental to a marriage. It can also be very detrimental to actually being found by somebody as marriage material, to being a wife. Because if you always have a backup, then the man feels like he's not needed. And there's a book, Love and Respect by the Eggerichs. I think that's how you pronounce the name. But it talks about how men really need respect within a marriage, within a relationship. And the core need of women is love. So when men feel disrespected, they are not going to give out the love that the woman needs. And so often, having daddy in the background, having daddy as a safety net means that it diminishes this man's sense of the respect he has within his own home. Here's another thing. Often, fathers of means want to set up their daughters well. So they want to make sure they're well educated, they can take care of themselves. But if the father has his own means, he also wants to help out a little bit. And this can be in the case of a daughter getting married and a father says, you know what, I'm going to help them buy their own home. Which sounds nice. However, what does that do to the new husband in that role? That's essentially saying that I don't trust you to take good care of my daughter, so I'm going to help you out with that because you need a little bit of help and you're not quite man enough. And it's done out of a good heart. It's done out of love for your daughter, wanting to take care of her, wanting to set her up for success. And while it may set her up for comfort and success in terms of everyday living and having what she needs, it may not set her up for success in her marriage. Let me know in the comments whether this is something that makes sense to you. I'd love to hear it. I remember when I was in my 20s, I came to a point where I realized that I was judging the men that I was seeing around based on my dad. My dad was the standard. And generally this is a good thing. You hear about, be the man that you would want your daughter to date and marry. It's good. It's good to have that strong father figure. However, too often it can turn into an impossible standard for her husband to reach. So if your daughter is stuck on the fact that you are just you are the goal, you are wonderful, and you've got everything together, and you don't temper that by telling her that, you know what, look for a man who is these concrete things, not the sun and the moon and the stars and everything, then what happens is she will X out everyone. X out, no, he's not spiritual enough, he doesn't have enough patience, he hasn't gotten established in his career enough. I came to my senses in my 20s and I thought, you know what? I am looking at my dad who has been tempered by life, by marriage, by fatherhood, by so many things. So he's a refined version of who he was in his 20s. And very likely, the guys that I'm seeing around are who my dad was in his 20s. So there are ways in which, as dads, you can end up giving your daughter expectations that are too high. A second place where these expectations may be is in the lifestyle that she leads. So very often It's like a girl is accustomed to the finer things in life, and daddy's gonna get me this, and if I want it, he'll get it for me. And then a husband's meant to step into this role and do all of the things where he may not be in a position to provide her with that. And because she's used to that, she sees that as a failure. And there goes the relationship. It's been made like a thing for dads to have their daughters as their princesses. Oh, my little princess. Yeah, she's got me wrapped around her finger, and I would do anything for my daughter. Let's think long term, not just the now, not just the spoiling them, not just the I love you so much, I'm going to just lavish things on you. But let's think about how we're setting up our children for their future homes. I'm going to say it here. I pray, even now, my husband and I pray for the homes that our children are going to set up. I talk to my daughters about marriage and being mothers and try to cultivate that desire for it. For my son, I talk about provision and I show, oh, look at the way dad does this. And, this is why it's so good to have dad around. And so by seeing his dad working and doing things around the house and being respected in his own home and feeling like the king in his castle, I pray that that's creating a desire in my son to establish his own home, to have his own wife and children and continue the legacy. Too often, I think in modern day times, we focus on comfort. So we want our children to be comfortable. We want to do everything for them. We don't want them to undergo any hardship that we went through. But you know what? Those hardships that we went through are the things that made us grow, that brought out character in us, that tested who we were. And by taking away the hard things in life, by shielding them from failure, by making things so cush and plush and easy for our children, we're actually not helping them. So I talked about in the other video how the negative perception of men impacts men as well. So as a girl dad, you may be thinking, you know what? All these men out here are just cheats and they're useless and they don't work and whatever. Your words about men impact your daughters, impact what they are going to look for in the men out there, impact their perception of what is out there. If you're always talking negatively about your fellow men, then they're going to think that you are the only good man there is. And out there are just the riffraff, the hairy unwashed, ugh, So dads, girl dads especially, please talk positively about men. It's not just for the wives, but husbands, talk positively about men. Look out for the good men around and extol the things that they're doing right. When you see a dad with his kids, say, I love seeing other dads with their kids. Say good things, because that will encourage your daughters to see good men around. And when it comes time, God willing, for you to give your daughter away in marriage, you also not feel that, oh, I can't believe she's going with that one. No one's good enough for my princess. I get it. Probably every father thinks that no one's good enough for their princess, but there's a way in which you can temper her expectations as well, so that she's not looking for this perfection that does not exist, that she's not looking for the mature, refined version of you that was not there when you were in your 20s or 30s. I pray that our marriages, our families will not only be for us, that we can raise godly children, but that it would continue a legacy. That our children too, having seen a healthy, fulfilling marriage, will desire that for themselves and will be well set up to establish their own homes. That's all for today. Let me know what you think about this. See you in the next one.